Messi. Messi. Oh, my goodness. Balotelli. Aguero. Oh, that is extraordinary. What a head, son. What a head. Back of the net.
Hello, and welcome to the Not a Pundit podcast. My name is Killian Ginnity, and I'm delighted to be joined, as ever, by Best Sports Podcast nominee Nathan Byrne and Specialist Podcast of the Year nominee Conor Glennon. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
I'm on cloud nine after seeing those nominations coming out during the week. Boys, I think we need a collective applause. Well done, lads.
They say self-praise is no praise, Nate, but we're going to take it for this week.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, it's a testament to all the hard work us boys have been doing, and yeah, everyone that's tuned in, listened, thank you. And yeah, I know it means a lot to all of us. So yeah, thanks, lads. How are you getting?
I'm fantastic, and it absolutely does mean so much for everybody that does listen and engage with us. And if you would like to support us, this is nominations for the Irish Pod Awards. They're a new iteration of Irish Podcasting Awards, and we are up against some of the best in the business, not just from the world of sport, but from all over, ranging from second captains, which is like a dream tier for us, all the way to tech talk, from news talk, and everybody in between, including some friends of ourselves and the show. So when you're going through, make sure to give them some love, and if you could consider us, we would really, really appreciate it. So give us a vote at irishpodawards.ie. That is irishpodawards.ie. Lads, just before we came on, there was some big breaking news, Connor.
Yeah, the biggest 3 words in football. Here we go, and it was related to none other than Thomas Tuchel taking the 3 Lions job. It's, I think everyone knows that the FA's dream candidate was Pep, and I don't think they were getting much back from his camp, but it's a massive appointment, boys.
Nate, how did you feel as like a United fan that was kind of eyeing up the possibility of Mr. Tuchel flying into Manchester?
A bit good, to be honest. Like he's definitely narrowed down the managers that we can go for, but yeah, like I think he's a perfect appointment for England. If anyone's going to get them over the hump of semi-finals and finals, I think it's him. He's a tournament specialist, and that's exactly what they need.
Well, that's what I think is the biggest thing with this one is it's almost crunch time for the FA now. If they can't kick on with him, there's bigger problems that they need to sort out, and I don't know who's the man, because look, they've had some brilliant managers over the years. Obviously, he's only the 3rd international manager. I think we said on this pod we'd never believe that a German manager would be at the top of the table, but what are you thinking, Killian?
I just can't wait to see his face when they start singing 12 German Bombers. Like, in fairness, they have a German royal family. They might as well have a German manager as well. I was just really surprised. Like, he doesn't strike me as an international manager. Like, he kind of seems like one of them coaches that likes to be a little bit more hands-on. Like, when you look at him coming into Chelsea, he was able to kind of bring that kind of like oomph and get them to the Champions League and win it in a very, very short space of time. And it kind of so far now, I would give him credit in the bank in the sense that the teams he did this with were all basket cases. Chelsea, PSG, where he's gone in, done a good job, and it fizzled out by the end, even when results maybe hadn't, but personality-wise had. So that could work really, really well for him, where that kind of like what would normally fizzle out over the space of a year might take 4 years because you're only going to have the same amount of interactions in that space of time. Or it just might not work, where he's not able to actually get that kind of, I don't know, that vavavoom out of them that he would kind of maybe expect. Plus, it'd be interesting to see kind of what kind of staffing he brings in. Like, is this going to be a lot more kind of dependent on other people going and doing the viewing for him, or is he going to be the one that's sitting in the stadiums now?
I think he will be. Like, he strikes me as that type of character. I genuinely think he's a perfect fit in terms of his style of football. It's quite defensive. It's about getting the ball high up the pitch in the three action zones. So I think he's a perfect fit to international football. As you said, the time thing could be an issue, but listen, it's worth a try in my opinion. I think the interesting part is now we've seen we've seen Poch and Tuchel go. We've seen Pep flirt with international football. What's going on here, lads? Is it clubs are getting a bit too frenzy with managers? That's putting them a bit off club football, or what?
I think it's the media side of things. And look, Tuchel isn't going to have an easy job being the England manager. I think that's the most poison chalice job in world football that arguably has the most media attention. But outside of England, like an international job is much lighter. Like, you know, for someone like Poch, yeah, he'll bring more eyes in the States and therefore more media. But it's much more of an easy trip for him. And I think, you know, we've seen Jurgen Klopp take on the head of football role across the Red Bull family, and obviously to the disappointment of Dortmund fans. But I wouldn't be surprised if he enters into the chat for international manager soon enough too.
Could
Yeah,
we be seeing managers possibly burning out? Like
I think so.
too many
Yeah.
games. I know players are complaining about it, but are we actually seeing like managers action it and move away? Like it's looking good for a very competitive World Cup. I'll say that. Like
Well, I think as well, you look at Tuchel, he's what, 51, 52. Like, I mean, he could do two tournament cycles and still be able to go back to club football if he feels like it. Like, I think it's the perfect time for him to do it. And, you know, as you said, to me, I do think he is the perfect fit for the job. I'm surprised the FA were able to do it and had the balls to do it. And the speed at which they've done it has been relatively impressive based off kind of Carsley's comments of whether he's coming or going. And I know we'll touch on that. But for me, I think he's definitely become more conservative in his football over the last, I suppose, year or two. So I think that frenzied style that we've seen, that's brought success arguably everywhere he's been. I do think he's calmed down a bit. He's matured is probably the wrong word. If I can't say he's maturing at 51, but he's I think he's a bit more chill, and I also think he's charismatic enough that he'll be able to play with the media, but savvy enough that he'll be able to contain them.
I think ultimately the biggest thing about this is it's a big name. Like, I think that's going to placate England fans for a little while. And I think that's what the FA needed. And I think the FA deserves actually a lot of credit for being able to keep
100%.
this under wraps. Because, like, well, it was only really in the last couple of days that his name kind of was in the conversation, aside from the kind of like, yeah, if not Pep, who else is available? Oh, well, Tuchel's there. He might. But
But I think
apparently he was on the list.
everyone would have been like, "Ah, but he's German. He won't do it. You know, why would they bother?"
Yeah, it was in the same kind of way that like Poch has been in the conversation before. It's kind of going, has anybody actually asked him? Like there was none.
Yeah.
It felt very much like media speculation, and yeah, like as we're recording, it's only come out in the last little while. Tomorrow for us, which is probably today if you're listening, there will be a press conference where more will be revealed. I'm sure he's going to be making bank.
Oh yeah.
Like even if it was just per days of work, he'll be on probably 3 or 4 times what was on previously per day of actual physical work, even if it might only be the same wage. He does have a job on his hands though. Like there is going to be a lot of media pressure just for who to select every time. There's a lot of okay players out there for England. Not a lot of world class like that you would say it's going to get into every single team.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, you know, they have. I think going back to Nate's point of why would he go into international management, I think if you look at any other international team, he probably wouldn't have done it. But the playing staff that he has at his disposal is, on paper, one of the best that's available to him at this point. And but even with those players, like, you know, you saw in the last string of games that defensively they're not fantastic. They obviously had an upset by Greece where. Yeah, they kind of had a half of football where they really lost the run themselves. But you look at that team and, you know, you look at what Carsley did, and I have to give him credit. He did what all England fans were asking him to do in the way of finding all players that they wanted to play a position in the team, but it just didn't work. You know, like the likes of playing Palmer on the wing, it didn't really work. You look at the transition of Trent from left to right back or right to left back, it didn't really work. Yeah, he's one of the best passers of the ball in world football, but he definitely has a job in his hands. And also, like, I think in the same way that Ireland have had problems of over-reliance on certain players, like we saw it at the World Cup, where Harry Kane was the main man, and then when he wasn't available, there wasn't too much cooking there. And yeah, Watkins can come in and do a job, but I think that number 10 position is really somewhere they need to strengthen, as well as that back four.
Nate, do you think Carsley's experience with the England top job could be considered a failure? Like, there was a lot of pressure. There was obviously that loss against Greece, which was fantastic to see as neutrals, not just because it's England losing, but the fact of the story around it. Does it kind of damage his reputation as like being the main man in the future?
Um, that's a difficult question because I think he might have found out a few truths about the job that he didn't know in terms of, as you said, the media pressure. From what I've seen, he wasn't very liked. Like there was already a bit of an agenda out for him. Yeah, his comments worried me a bit. I think the comments that he made say, where he was like, he's not a world class coach yet, and he wants to go to the under-21s. I think he said that because he knew Tuchel was coming in.
That
It was
was
a
going
bit
to be
of a
my
freebie.
question. Yeah, that was my
It
question
was,
with that. Did he, was he just trying to prep himself and kind of almost parachute out there with a bit of I suppose respect about him, you know?
yeah,
I'm
I think he did.
I'm not so sure because like
I think he
when he
did.
was coming through as a coach, he was caretaker at Coventry where he also played, and he was also caretaker at Birmingham where he also played. But in between that, he had a little interim spell as manager of Brentford and had quite a decent spell. But every time for he was caretaker or interim, he was always saying, "No, I'm going to go back to being a coach." Like, I'm not sure if he particularly wants to be a manager. I think he likes being a head coach, and I think with the England job, it's just too politicky that you're going to be more of an old school manager, regardless of what you want it to be. Whereas if he was to go back into club football, being a head coach or the director of football would suit him, or potentially an Ireland job where uh, we see Heimir is complaining about the level of media scrutiny. Well, is this one of the things that kind of put him off that? Like, is this more kind of Carsey's really putting it out there, kind of going, don't expect me to be this thing that I'm not.
Well,
It's not what I want to be.
not every coach is meant to be a manager, and there's absolutely no shame in that. Like, I mean, Carsley, you know, even in the early days when he was being talked about for the Ireland job, that, you know, people were saying he was very much a, you know, boots on the grass manager. That's or not manager, coach. Like that is his game, and I think, you know, he's seen success at that with the under-21s, and I do think he was ill prepared and poorly managed by the comms office of the FA. I think they kind of threw him to the dogs a little bit. Maybe was it a sink or swim test? I don't know, but I think he went into it a bit naive as to how intense the scrutiny would be in that position, and he was also poorly prepared to handle it. So I think it was a hard one for him as well in the fact that from the public perception of, look, Southgate didn't leave with the best feeling around him, and he was kind of coming from the exact same route into the job as Southgate did. So I think there was probably a little bit of scrutiny from the fans too.
Lads, I'm going to be a bit mean here, okay? Me and Nathan's coming out. Stop faffing around with the under-21s then if you want to be a coach. Like, if you're not in it for the long run to be a manager, go be an assistant manager, go be a coach at a club. Like, I don't know what his play is in the under-21s if that's his play, because to me that's how you develop managers. That's how the FA should be developing managers. You shouldn't be catering around Carsley's desire to be a coach just because, in my opinion, it's an easy way to go and win things at that level.
I think you're right, but I do think there's a second train of thought with that, in the fact that there's two reasons for that managerial position in my head. A, like you said, training ground to be the top dog at the top job down the road, or fostering young talent. and creating that system from a younger age. Because bear in mind, they're coming from different club systems, and we're seeing now more than ever that national teams are expected to have a certain style of play, and that if that can be implemented from an earlier age, it works. Maybe I'm being a bit too rosy on that, but I think there is two trains of thought on it.
And I think, to be honest, the train of thought of him being more interested in development is the honest one, because it's what he's done everywhere. When he started off at Coventry coaching wise, it was started off with the under 18s. He had a spell doing the under 18s, I think, for Man City. He was the head coach of the developmental squad at Brentford before taking the interim job. This has been his path the whole way through, and it's why he got into the England youth setup. And like, even when he took on the interim job for the main team, like, he did say, like, this, it makes sense while they're going to like recruit a new manager. Like, this makes sense as a process for him to take the reins in the meantime. Like,
I'm not buying it. Like, I understand.
Are you thinking he kind of fumbled the bag a bit?
I don't. I just think, fair enough, if you want to be a coach and develop youth and whatever, but a lot of these players, the players he brought through, go up the age group with them. Like, do you know what I mean? That's what traditional coaches do. They start with the younger groups and they move up. It's like, I don't know what he is currently, and it's like, if you just want to be an under 21s manager, you do that. But to me, that was your perfect opportunity to go prove that you can step up with the players that you've brought through.
I do think there's stepping up into your first managerial role, and there's being the England team manager. I think that that's a seismic leap, even if you're in the FA system. And to me, I always looked at Carsley's run in these, what he's done, 2 camps. Who knows if he'll get to do that final camp with the team? I'd be surprised.
I doubt it. Yeah.
But to me, I always looked at those 3 camps as Kieran McKenna has his first season in the Premier League. No matter how it goes, I don't think the stock will have been lost in Carsley. I think he'll have the chance to get another big job. That is his final test, though. If he fumbles there, then I think it's gone.
Why is he going on and then saying, I want to go back to my old job because I'm not a world-class manager? News check, Carsley, you're not going to become a world-class manager, like managing the England under 21s. This is not going to happen.
Yeah,
if you want to become a world-class manager, you have got to transition into the men's game. Like, it's
on a personal level, I know I have the same feeling as you. Like, I want to see him kick on and become something great, and I think he has the ability and the skill to do it. Maybe he doesn't have the personality. Like, I would love to see him now take on like a nice championship job. Sunderland don't need a manager, but that type of club, young, forward-thinking, will give you a bit of time. I think if he wants to go down that route, I think, and to show his chops, do it on a day-to-day basis with a team. Like, one of the things it would kill me not to say it is, when you look at the pressure that was on that England job, don't forget that him representing Ireland made that a whole lot harder. Like, look at the thing around his anthem before he ever took the job.
And what was unfair about there is he didn't even
out of the job.
He didn't sing the Irish anthem back in the day. He didn't sing the English anthem then. And I think that is exactly the type of thing that he wasn't prepared for. He knew it was coming, but his answers around it were like, he had his whole life to prepare for that question. And he
I don't even think he's ready for a championship managerial job. I think he should be looking at a Premier League or Championship assistant manager job. I just do.
Yeah, like, I think he would be a great assistant.
I think he needs to see the boiling pit that is men's football, because I think he's been too hidden away with the England under 21s where there's limited spotlight.
I think he'd be a great Arteta role.
Yeah,
at City. Like, if he did that, it'd be ideal. I don't think any club would waste their time with that, though. I think if they want him in, they'll just get him in. So I think that's kind of rules him out of a Premier League position. I think the fact that Arteta was coming almost straight from playing is what afforded him the time to do that. I think when you have any kind of chops now, like say, look, the Sunderland manager. Sunderland manager had a time as manager with Lorient, but he was their head of youth development. Like, it's in this day and age, I think clubs, when they're bringing in a name, they see the media faffing around that and expect delivery on that. And you can't bring in an England interim manager to be an assistant manager.
100%. But I do think I do wonder, does Tuchel keep him on in some capacity, in the fact that he might go back to being the 21 gaffer, and he also might have. There's also the possibility that he remains in.
That would make a lot of sense.
And I think that would, if England look at him as, let's face it, Tuchel's not going to be your manager for the next 10 years. If Tim Carsley was potentially the man this time round, wasn't ready, why not keep him in the company per se, put him on Tuchel's ticket, see what happens?
I think this period with them, though, has ruled him out of the job in the future.
So do I.
Yeah.
That's not results based. That's not skill based. I think that's
It's how he handled it. Yeah.
media
Personality
based.
based.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think how he handled the media, but also how the media reacted to him. Like, I don't care what anybody says, that Daily Mail audience is a large one in the UK,
Oh, yeah.
and they're going to feel the sweat on that, especially when it comes to people that are meant to be sponsoring the team. It's very hard when it's like, oh, well, you don't love your country. What's he going to do if he was manager in November? Is he going to wear the poppy?
Yeah. And he has all that James McClean type bullshit.
It's
Yeah.
just too much for such a political job.
I do think, as well, we said this in one of the many, many podcasts when we were waiting for Ireland to have a manager, but I do see him potentially long-term being a director of football or a kind of head of recruitment or something in the C-suite that involves fostering talent for future generations. I don't know about you, Nate.
Possibly.
Kind of like
The more I
a
think-
cop with the global football thing with Red Bull. You can see that with like a City group.
Yeah.
Possibly, but lads, the more I think about it, I think he messed up. I think he should have chose the Ireland route. I think he didn't go for it, which he obviously had his own reasons for. But if you're then after that going to go and take the interim job and be under the exact same pressure, it's like you might as well just took the full-time gig and gave it a shot. Do you know what I mean?
The only thing is,
Like,
if you take that Ireland job, that England gig, no matter how well you do, is gone.
but that England gig's gone regardless now, over
Yeah.
4 games. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so, in my opinion, he chose wrongly, and he's going to pay the price for it.
I mean, look, Heimer's on an 18-month deal. Before we touch on how the team played in the last kind of window, realistically, we're not going to qualify for that tournament. So there is a potential that job is still on for Carsey down the road. Do we think Irish fans would, based off what they've seen with England, would want him if Heimer was to be removed?
I think Ireland fans realise we're in a beggars can't be choosers position. Like, no matter what, if somebody offers you Lee Carsey over Heimir Helgrimsson, what's the name you can say, first of all? but there is a little bit more kind of kudos to getting a Lee Carsley, and especially in 18 months' time, we're still going to have a young squad. Oh, we should actually have a younger squad than we do now. Like, there should be a little bit more of a realistic turnover.
Yeah.
And there will always be that kind of thing of, will Carsey actually bring in some of these granny rulers that I keep harping on about? Like, will we get a CJ Egan-Riley in? Will we get a Liam Delap in? Will we get a Dennis Cirkin in? Because he has worked with them before. I think if he was to become available, we'd snap the hand off him. Unless Heimir comes good. And I hold the fate, Nate, that he will.
I don't hold the same faith that you hold. I'm a lot.
Nobody does, Nate. Nobody does.
Yeah. I'm a little bit more optimistic after that international break. That's as far as I'm willing to go saying that now.
I think that's fair,
but-
though, because there wasn't anything massive to say.
Exactly. I think he spoke a bit more correctly in terms of what he was trying to get across. Finland result was good, but we also looked poor in that first half, in my opinion. Like, he needs to nail down consistency in a team that's been inconsistent for years now, which is God's job. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how he's going to pull that off. But I do like the tone he's taken now in terms of we got to change the mentality. We got to become hard to beat. These are things that I've been saying for a long time. So,
Well, that was one of the things with the game against Finland. Like, we won. We probably shouldn't, but we did. And when's the last time we could say that about Ireland? That we played badly and still got a result?
Well, yeah, but see, what bothers me about this thinking though is we should be beating Finland. Like, I know with our current crop of players and our last run of games, we shouldn't.
Finland are our level.
That's what I mean. Like, they're the games that we should at least be competing in. Like the Greece game, Greece are so many levels above where we are.
I wouldn't say so many levels, but they are much stronger than we are. Like, this is the same this is the same Greece squad that bet England, but also this is a Greece squad where most of their players are playing in the Greek top division, which is a strong division when you look at the number of European places alone that they get. Let's take it pure analytical coefficient wise. Their league is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
It is what, European top 10? Top 15?
Top
worst?
15 for sure. Where it would land, I don't know.
Yeah, but you have players that are, which always helps, playing in the same teams. Like, there'll be a lot of Panathinaikos players this era. There might be a lot of Olympiacos players this era. That tends to go like that. And they're playing at a stronger level than most of our players are. And they're doing it consistently for longer. Don't forget, it was only 20 years ago that these were European champions.
Well, that's the thing. Like Greece have been a top team, maybe not a top team, but like a higher level team, should we say,
Yeah.
mid to high team for decades now. Like, we were never ever on Greece's level. I know we rose to the rankings to something stupid in the top 10 once, but you know what I mean.
But there's the other thing as well, is like their league tracks a reasonable level of player.
Yeah.
Like, I know it is old cuts, but like Rivaldo used to play out there. Dribbel Cisse used to play out there. Like, players like Samaras, that was like constantly in Celtic's best team, and Man City before the takeover. These were the players that either they were playing against or playing with. It's been a while since we had players at that kind of a level. We never had that in our league.
No.
And then we don't normally have them kind of that level of player in our national team. So we shouldn't have lost 2-0 in the way that we did. And like, I think we have to take a little bit of heart. Kelleher was very good for most of the Greece game, aside from his mistakes. When he was good, he was great. When he was bad, it was woeful. And that is Ireland in a nutshell, Nate.
yeah, lads, I wish there was an answer. Like, I wish there was an answer on how to fix Ireland, but I genuinely don't think it exists currently. Like, I don't know if it's just going to have to be where we go through about 10 international breaks where we just got to beat this mentality out of ourselves, where we're like, where there's just something that clicks, where like there'll be a 20-minute period where just a head drop. Like, that can't happen in international football. Like, you need to be switched on the whole time. And if we keep doing that, we're just going to concede goals. Like, I think there was about 3 goals in the last break that could have been avoided easily.
I completely agree with you, and it's been a problem for Irish teams for touching on 10 years now, where the minimum I expect from Ireland is to compete in games against teams like Finland, and regardless of whether it's Finland, England, Brazil, from 0 minutes to 95, 96, whatever it is, clued in, working as hard as they can. Now, I'm not expecting the most cohesive team, I'm not expecting the most skilled team, but I'm expecting hard workers, and I'm expecting them to be aware of their surroundings and conscious of what they're doing for the entirety of the game. I don't think that's much to ask for.
Actually, just on that, before the break, we did kind of question a lot of the squad and the call-ups and all that. And we said this on our social media after the Finland game, but I think it's worth reiterating here on the podcast. We doubted Robbie Brady, but in fairness to him, he stepped up this international in the last 2 games. Like,
with Killian, did you see him in the Greece game then? Like, Do you know what I mean? Like
It wasn't good.
I get he came in clutch in the Finland game, but let's not grab on to like 20 minutes of like good clutch moments for what I saw in
I
that
think
Greece game.
I think considering the way that we had very recently said Robbie Brady in 2024, are you for real? Versus how he overall performed in this international break, it is better than we had given him credit for.
100%. I mean, the one thing I want to say on the Robbie Brady thing, this isn't a personal attack on Robbie Brady. I quite like him
He's been a fantastic servant.
Yeah. I think it's more we're coming at it from the frame of how is he still in the team? Like it's not I don't even mean from a skill level. It's just like, do we not have anyone else who can compete for that position? And we do.
Well, when you have Heimir saying, "Oh, well, this is a squad that's why didn't Matt Doherty get called up? Oh, well, I want to try new things," and you have the guy that was coming in clutch in 2016 still playing, it's just not a good look.
And for me as well, one thing that troubles me with this Ireland team is looking at those players, how they play for their club versus how they play internationally. You know, and you look at arguably one of our best players right now is Nathan Collins. Like that, he is. Even though he hasn't played amazing for Ireland, like he is possibly a player with the most potential playing at the highest level right now, and he's just maybe he's not cooking with the Ireland team, but he's not where he is when you see him play in the Premier League.
So bad. It's like such a like the mistakes are so basic. Like that's the worrying thing is it's such basic mistakes that he's getting wrong, and yeah, it could be a confidence issue and stuff like that. Could the captaincy be affecting it? I don't know.
But
Like,
do you think it's a case of he's just used to better players in the Brentford team, so he's kind of having to
No.
readjust his system, or do you think it's on him?
I think that's a probably like I think if we were to come to that conclusion, that'd be a big cop out. Like, it's just
because he's a
defensive
midfielder.
errors.
He's a midfielder. He's a defensive midfielder. If you had two defenders behind him, that none of them issues would have been an issue. It would have been fine. Get him in midfield.
I
Yeah,
mean,
maybe.
I don't think we have the luxury to do that, but one person that I will allow do whatever they want in the next international window is none other than Festi. Festi absolutely had an amazing game.
He has mistakes in him, and at that age, that's you're not going to hold that against him. We shouldn't be pinning all of our hopes on him.
Oh,
I
God,
think
no.
he has a great future. I think he will be fantastic for Ireland. He will be good for us now. I actually suggested that Man United should be looking for a player like him because, like, if he's want to play with like an actual kind of a wing back, well, then there you go. That's a lad that'll bust a gut.
Well, that's my key thing, and it goes back to my point on that's all I want. I want players like him. I know we don't have much to base it on. He hasn't had much time in a green jersey, but like that is the type of attitude I want from every single one of our players.
Yeah, no, and when you're representing your country, it should be the minimum expectation. One thing that I wasn't delighted about was the lack of game time and impact for Casey McAteer. Like getting him over kind of looked like, yeah, great, we have a good player. He's not getting much game time for Leicester either in the Premier League, and maybe he's just a championship player, but it may not be what we expected him to be when we found out that he was going to be declaring.
I think
for
it's
us.
hard. I think it's a minutes thing. I think let's circle back in 6 months or a year and see where he's at, because I do think there's a player in him. But like, let's face it, lads. Like that Ireland team plays anyone in the championship, Ireland lose. Like absolutely, in my opinion.
Lads,
I use.
are you on the same wavelength as I am? If you're realistically not playing for your club, I don't think you should be starting for your nation.
I think
Like,
there's unique circumstances, like say if you're Kelleher and you're getting sat on the bench because you're behind an Allison or something like that. He is the best goalkeeper we have, you know. But for the most part, I think if you're comparable in the talent in a team and you're not getting minutes and someone is, there's a reason for the most
I'm
part.
gonna hate for this, but like, lads, we can throw Evan Ferguson at the walls as many times as we want, but if he's not getting minutes week in, week out, like, how impactful is he going to be for Ireland? Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel bad for him because he's not getting minutes at his club, but then I also feel bad on the other side that we're going like, yeah, let's go and every few months throw you out and expect to see things when you're not getting minutes.
Yeah, especially when you consider like he's coming back from a reasonably long layoff. Like I know it was a little while ago, but like at that age, like that's a significant percentage of your career that you've kind of been injured for now, and it's unfair more so than anything else that to kind of put him in the Robbie Keane role of expectations for us. Like what we had said a long time ago about Bizunu, sometimes it's just better to take them out of the team for their own sake. Don't get this complex about yourself having to perform every single time you're playing
See,
for
I
Ireland.
don't. I think this crop of young players now aren't able to process that rejection of getting left out for even an international break. I think they come back in going,
I'm
I'm not a fan of this Heimer lad. He left me out, and the trust is gone, which is bullshit, really, because the manager should be able to pick and choose who he wants at any point based on any circumstance. But Ferguson,
honestly, I'd leave him out for a few for until he's back playing for Brighton, or because no, I know the FAI won't because he's the ticket seller, and
Yeah,
that's the sad reality of it. But for his own sake and focusing on getting minutes week in week out, I just think you sort of just have to take players out when it's like that. Like,
as long as he's getting some appearances, I have no problem him being in the squad. I do have a problem with him leading the line.
Nate
Like
said
there
this
is
before though, and
no.
and we've kind of agreed on this before. He is the bums and seats guy, and that is an issue.
Yeah, but if you're gonna treat it like a circus, you're only gonna get monkeys results. Like,
Yeah,
do not expect success if you're not gonna build for it.
but
When you
he needs
have,
someone around him. Then he needs someone around him going like lad, even just take yourself out of an international break because I do think, and I know it'll be hard for him to do that because I don't think footballers have that type of perspective currently, and that's me saying it. But it's like I think you need someone like his dad or something. Just go, lad, just take yourself out of an international break, and don't let this thing that the FAI is use you to get bums and seats.
I think he'd be very worried about the optics of that more
and
so than
losing
anything.
his spot. What if someone has an absolute masterclass for a window and he's out of the team?
I won't be worried about the spot because
Yeah, I wouldn't be
like
worried about it. Trust me.
everybody's so streaky. Like these things come and go. But I think what would be the perfect situation for him is if Brighton turned around and said, "Actually, no, Ireland, we're not going to release him for this international break. We don't think he's match fit or ready."
That'd be the
That'd be
ideal.
that'd
That's
be
the ideal.
perfect.
Yeah.
And even if that was just Evan or his agent or his dad turning to Brighton saying, "Here, lads, we'll use this, take the hit on this
Yeah.
just for this once," because
Next time round,
then
we'll take the hit if needs be, but just do us a solid here.
yeah, just say, "Oh well, sure, isn't there another international break coming up soon?" Even if it was that one, just kind of going, "Yeah, listen, lads, these aren't that crucial for years or international chances. We're coming into Christmas. We don't get an international. We don't get a break, a winter break.
Yeah.
We're going to need these extra bodies. We need Evan, and we need him getting minutes in our way.
Because
It'd be perfect."
think about it from his point of view. Yeah, like he's gone from in the mindset that he needs to get into a Brighton team every week to get. Because I'd imagine he's quite worried with the game time he's getting. Do you know what I mean? Like he's been built up, and I imagine he is worried that he's not getting the game time that he wants. To them, every couple of months, or every couple of months for a week, you're like the main guy. Like he has no stability there. Like
Where
he
I got
needs to
worried for
focus
him
on.
Where I got worried from was when there was rumours when Tony was going Saudi that he'd go on loan to Brentford. And when Brighton were thinking of loaning out a talent like Ferguson, you start going, oh, why are they doing that? What do they think? Are they trying to just give him minutes somewhere else? But then if he's able to get minutes for a Premier League team, why is he not getting minutes at Brighton? That's the only part of me that made me think, are Brighton starting to doubt him?
Like I just think he needs to focus on getting back to that level, and I think the Ireland thing is just such a taxing thing that, for his own sake, I think he needs to do it.
Yeah, like I see. That's why I wouldn't be too worried about like going out on loan. Like Brighton now don't rely on him, and I think a team like a Brentford, if they were to say we're going to bring you in to be our main man, I think that'd do him the world of good. Some teams are made to be built around one player, and obviously we saw that with Brentford and Tony. Now, they did fine without Tony and moved away from that kind of a mentality. But like, I would like to see an Evan Ferguson in that type of a position because I think he would do really, really well. I think Brighton are too clever to ever rely on one player too much. Like when you're able to replace a Felipe Caicedo that easily, the club is just is so well run. So
he's limited in where he can go, though, if that's the case, because like realistically, he's not going to drop down a league. I don't see him going abroad.
And he doesn't need to.
You know, it's a Brentford-ish Everton type move for a season. Like
I'd love to see him in the Bundesliga.
I just don't think it would happen. Who would want him? I don't mean that he's crap, but like I just don't see it.
Oh, I think loads of clubs would want him. I think it's just getting away from
give
Brighton.
him what he needs.
Like I think Brighton was a great club for him, but I think it's become a bad club for him now in terms of. I think there's too many youth talents at Brighton that.
Yeah.
I think unless you're the main guy, which currently he's not, I think the rest of them are going to struggle to get noticed. Like, that's why I'd be like, come on, lad, get out of there quick. Because
he's on a long deal, though. Unless he's getting a couple of loan moves, he's there for a while.
Like, you don't want to happen to him what happened to Aaron Connolly, where like he was Ferguson before Ferguson, and then kind of fell out of the team, and then fell out of contention, and then fell out of thought, and then ended up at Hull.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you just kind of end up going on these random little loans and all that. So, like, you kind of have to be very proactive before your stock falls down. But, like, this, like, loaning out players and trying to get the best out of them is something that Brighton do. And they're doing with Andrew Moran, much to his benefit. Like, him getting 35 games for Blackburn in the Championship last year, beside and behind Sammy Smodics. Like, that's great. That's exactly what we as Ireland fans want.
But then doesn't even get called up for the Ireland team. Like,
that's the other thing I want to get onto, which
doesn't make sense.
From that international break. I think results-wise, we can kind of go, meh, that's grand. Nothing to write home about.
Whatever the level up from meh is, that's where I am on the Richter scale.
yeah, you're 52%.
Yeah,
you're not happy, but you're reasonably contented. You weren't embarrassed this week, but I think there was question marks over this, in inverted commas, experimental squad, because that was how Heimir said about not calling up James Coleman or Matt Doherty. If that's your experimenting, I'd hate to see what you do in the bedroom.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's an exciting night at home missionary with a 3-1. Like, that is just... That was exactly a Stephen Kenny kind of a squad that I would have expected to see. I was hoping for something a little bit more exciting.
My one fear
John
with
O'Shea
him,
squad.
He's so safe. Like, he's... John O'Shea, yeah, like you said, he kind of picked his baits, picked who he knew, picked what he was used to. But like, and I'm not expecting Heimir to start going out and picking a starting 11 of, everyone we've desired to play. But like, you've got to make more moves than that. It's too samey. And I do think if we're in 2 windows down the line and he's playing the same kind of tactics with the same team and we're not winning games, I don't see him lasting long. I'd like him to. I like the guy. I just don't see it.
Like, it's one of them kind of things you just kind of need to have something to hang your hat on. And if you're bringing through talent that wasn't getting the chance beforehand, at least you could hang your hat on that. Liam Scales, I doubted before the tournament, the international break. And yes, it's good to see him bed into the squad further. Cool. Dara O'Shea wasn't going to get left out. Josh Cullen probably wasn't going to get left out, but we know what he does. Like, Smodics needs to be ingrained more in the culture. Perfect. Evan Ferguson needs games. Perfect. Robbie Brady, as we said,
he's around for a short time, not a long, around for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah. But Ogbene, like, he's not performing well enough to justify that he has to be in the squad. But isn't anything that we need to learn about. What have we learned about him from this break that we didn't know beforehand? Bamidele, like, why isn't he playing? Like a genuine question there. I would much rather see Collins play in midfield and put him into the centre defence as
I
well.
don't think Heimer's brave enough to try that, even though I think it could work. I don't think he's got it in him right now.
No,
Anyway,
no, but like it was good to see Taylor get a game. Jamie McGrath, it's great to see a Meath guy get a game. But what have we learned? What did we need to find out about him?
but this
Nothing.
this is the thing, and the common thread along all those players. Like, we're not finding out what we need to find out. We're not trialing enough. We're not, and like, from what I've been seeing in the press, like, Heimer does more meetings than he does training sessions. It's like, these lads need time on the pitch together, kicking a ball. They do not need to be sat in a classroom discussing it. They have done that. They have been around football their entire lives since the time they could walk. They need time together.
But like, lads, what are we trying to learn? Like,
How to play together. Just how to cohesively
Well-
work as a unit and win.
but okay. Half our players aren't even playing week in, week out. Like I think there's only so much I can say in terms of you can only expect so much from players that don't play for the club week in, week out. Like, I do think there's a huge, and it goes back to what Killian said about Casey, is you're just not going to get in the team. Like, if you're not playing, like, you're just not up to speed. You get maybe 4 training sessions at best during the week, like 2 games over the international break, and then how long does it take you to get up to speed in them 2 games? It's like, it's just, you're like, I'd rather go to under 21s and go, who's actually playing for the club at a high level, and go, lads, you're getting called up.
Yeah.
Like,
See, that's
Andrew
kind of what I'm
Moore.
saying. Like, even look at like Andrew Moore, a great example, but Jake O'Brien, like, we're
Jake
saying
O'Brien.
he's a very good player now, maybe not getting the games
Yeah.
at Everton, but he could be a very good player for Ireland. But we need to give him the minutes.
Sinclair Armstrong playing for Bristol City.
Mhm.
He's played 10 games this season, 554 minutes. Why isn't he in the Ireland squad?
That doesn't
Yeah.
make
More than
sense to
half-
me, yeah.
He's playing more than half our squad. Like,
Plus, there is another thing that Heimir could be doing, which I think would really give him a lot of credit in the bank with Ireland fans, whilst also showing the FAI that he's kind of willing to take a longer term on it. And it's something that kind of Stephen Kenny tried to do, which was bringing in some of the League of Ireland players. But when I'm saying the League of Ireland players, I mean Mason Melia. I mean Sam Curtis before he went to England.
no.
I don't mean call them up. Have them in and around the squad.
I think that's just pure optics and vibes.
Exactly. Like, Killian, I have a list up here of the Ireland under 21s. There's 4, maybe 5 players that could get called up for the level that they're playing at, and the minutes that they're playing at. Like, Sinclair Armstrong, 550 minutes. Rocco Vata has played 350 minutes for Watford this season.
And he's done really
Yeah.
well.
Like, where's he? Andrew Moore, self-explanatory, played 35 games in the Championship last season. Why is he not in the Ireland squad? Doesn't make sense.
He's the one that really irks
Baffles,
me.
yeah.
Because like he is another kind of Smodix in the fact that he can play so many positions in midfield.
And Manku at Millwall, he's played 250 minutes this season. It's 250 minutes more than 6 players in our squad. Like,
When you say it like that, and
mental.
when you run through those names, it just goes back to what we're saying, and the fact that Heimir is just so bloody safe.
Like,
Is it
I'm not
Heimir
asking for
or is
them
it the
all to
staff?
be. I'm not asking for them all to be called up, but like, give us 1 or 2.
Well, at least
Like-
give us more, and come on, like.
Like, I don't understand. Like, I think it's an FAI thing. I think that they've selfishly gone, we have a chance to make it to the Euros and do the 21, so we're not pulling anyone up. That's my personal opinion.
See, I wouldn't mind that if they were honest about it.
I
If they turn
know,
around
I do
and-
mind that. I do
Oh,
mind that.
I don't. Like it'd be great if we
Come
can
on.
have a chance at that.
Will you be going to the Euros under 21s? Like, cheer them on.
He bloody
Like,
would know.
I don't mean that in a nasty way, but like, come on, we're here to
Nap on
try
tour.
we're here to try and push forward our senior team. Like, these are players we need now. Like literally, legit.
I know what you mean, but like if they were being honest about the under 21s and kind of going, we want them to get to the Euro 21 Championship, so there will be players going and playing for them instead of coming to the Ireland squad. But we're doing that to give the Ireland squad the best chance by giving these the best experiences they can.
Let's not
Like,
forget.
They won't,
Let's not
they won't
forget
even
Kenny
be
got
at
it in
the
the neck
tournament.
though for doing this kind of thing, where Kenny plucked a player from the 21s to put in the top team. 21s lost, and it got blamed on that kid. I can't remember who it was, but I'm not Kenny's biggest fan by any margins. But he got the bullet for that, and I think that happens if we start plucking those
was that
21s
not
players.
Sinclair Armstrong?
I think it might have been.
No, it was Andrew Moore, was it?
I can't remember who it
It
was.
was.
It was
I
all
think
in
it
around the
was.
same time anyway. But yeah,
But
like,
you go tough shit. The under 21s are there to develop the senior team. Like if the team, if I take a player out of a team and they're not good enough to then qualify for that, then you're not good enough. Like the player was like I don't know.
Robbie Keane and Cole doing so well in that under 19s championship under Brian Kerr gave us a generation of winners. I would like to see that happen again.
I do think that was a bit of a fluke of a team, though. I don't think we'll see a team that good again.
Either way, but having that winning mentality in it, like, what would be better to have a slightly improved Ireland team for some Nations League games that'll come up, or to have an under 21 team going and having some tournament experience against some of the best young players
And potentially
in the world.
winning things or competing to win things.
Like, if we're going for big picture here, we actually have to start thinking big picture, and that's a very easy way to start.
No, the big picture is you put the players in to get up the coefficient ranks, or to get better results in the Nation Leagues to then have a better chance to get into a World Cup. Like, that's the end goal, isn't it?
It is the end goal, but I think it's just there's differing views on how we get there.
Yeah. I'd be very much. Plus, there's the other thing as well. Is like, we have so many players that have multi-national team options. Like Rocco Vata could play for Scotland if he wanted, or where's his dad from? Is it Romania or somewhere like that?
Not too sure.
So like, he has options of what team he can go to. No, but not even that. But by having like a really intelligent under 21s approach, that they're kind of going, oh wow, this is not only a progression, but I might actually do something here. In the long term, will actually help us and make us a very, very strong team. And because I'm hosting, I'm going to end the point on that. Nate,
agreed to disagree.
Before we finish up, there was some news out of Manchester. Sir Alex Ferguson's time with United has come to an end. Very quick reaction.
Very sad. I'm very sad. It didn't have to happen. To me, when you do that, you're a lifelong guardian of the club, in my opinion, for what he's done. I think it's another chapter in a sad book of Manchester United post-Fergie. Yeah, like that's every United fan's dad right there. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I'm personally very sad about it, and I know a lot of other people are as well.
Is this going to optically hurt Ineos going forward? And is this going to be like the proverbial swinging axe above their head over, like, when next time they make a bad decision or a decision the fans don't like, is this going to be held against them?
I think so. Like, it wasn't a decision that needed to be made, and now all I really have to say is good luck making your decision about the stadium now, because you're going to call in. The people are going to start roaring about taking the club identity away. That's how I see it.
My one question with this is, I think it's deplorable what they did, and for the cost of it, yes, look, 2 million a year is an incredible amount of money to the average human being, but for a club like Man United, it's 0.3% of their annual revenue, works out less than 40 grand a week. Are they doing this because they're making 250 people redundant and they're trying to show, oh, we're getting big hitters out too, we're trying to be the good guys here?
Yes, that's 100% what it is.
But it's so short-sighted, at least even PR-wise. And, like, let's face it, Fergie's not a young man anymore. He's 85, 86. Like, why do it? Like, surely there's another way to find 2 million quid. Even bring on a new sponsor just to pay for him.
If a Premier League club can't find 2 million quid. They have much bigger problems than having.
That's why I don't think it's money related.
It's optics for the. Oh, Zin, you think it's a personal
or
thing?
influence.
No, I think it's optics on them regarding the redundancy and regarding redundancies, in my opinion. But like the optics are reversed exactly around on them. Like, so
Either way, it's the end of an era at Old Trafford and the start of a new era of scrutiny for Jim Radcliffe and Ineos, because there's not too many feelings of goodwill that can be left with them. Gentlemen, that brings us to the end of another week. Thank you so much. My thanks to Nathan Byrne and to Conor Glennon, and to you for listening. And if you do get a chance, we would really, really appreciate if you do vote for us at the Irish Pod Awards. That's for Best Sports Podcast and Specialist Podcast of the Year at irishpodawards.ie. That is the irishpodawards.ie. And we'll chat to you next week.
Bye-bye.
bye.
Messi. Oh my goodness! Balotelli.